Hello, we are Frontier Games, education designed for the modern classroom. I'm Mary Powell and I'm the project manager.
I'm Elijah Hunter and I'm the asset manager and audio engineer.
I'm Caitlin Villarreal and I'm the Q&A tester.
And I'm Angus Schusser, the programmer.
A famous philosopher named George Santayana once said, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." This is still a prominent issue occurring in our generation. Frontier Games is fixing exactly this problem that Santayana defined all those years ago. In the current history classroom, the most common way of teaching is by giving lectures during class and then assigning long chapters to read from a history textbook every night for homework. This reading material often contains extremely important information that teachers often don't cover in class. The student is expected to learn this information for their frequent tests, and they're expected to learn it simply from rapidly reading lots of content. This is proven ineffective. Reading from a textbook is an outdated, tedious, and unsuccessful way of learning that does not work for most students. The students are assigned these chapters, they don't read the chapters because they are uninterested, which results in students that are not retaining the necessary information, they are not performing well on tests, and they are remaining unmotivated. I've noticed this over and over again in my own history classroom, and so have countless others. In a recent research study done by a university where students and their current study methods were observed, it was determined that only 55% of the students read their assigned chapters. Less than half of that could demonstrate basic comprehension of the material. However, when students were given educational games to learn from, knowledge retention increases by over 90%, and their completion of tasks increases almost 300%. From our independent customer survey analyzing fellow high school students, we determined that overall, students believe that less than 35% of their classmates actually read every chapter assigned to them. Portal to the Past is exactly the solution to this issue. Using gamification, we have created a new method of teaching history content that will revolutionize the modern classroom and eventually replace the traditional history textbook. First, what is gamification? Gamification is the use of game design in non-game context. There are 4 freedoms of play that gamification allows for that make it perfect in the education environment. First is the freedom to fail. When a student has the freedom to fail, they have the freedom to learn from their mistakes. Next is the freedom to experiment. Allowing for the freedom to experiment enables the student to come up with new ways to approach problems that work for them. The freedom to assume different identities grants the student ability to see from many different perspectives. In some cases, all it takes for someone to understand something is to see it from a different perspective. Finally, the freedom of effort allows students to go through periods of intense activity and inactivity at their choosing. The combination of all these freedoms paves a path for enhanced motivational learning. Portal to the Past is a 2D, side-scrolling PC video game that completely immerses students into important events that happened in history instead of only using boring textbooks. The player can experience and interact with these historical events in the shoes of someone that lived during that time. It teaches them the important information and concepts in a modern and fun way that their textbooks simply cannot. It's an educational, experiential game that effectively uses the 4 freedoms of play to gamify the history textbook, improving the modern history classroom by providing an alternative method of teaching that successfully increases student motivation, the percentage of information retained, and understanding of the concepts. The user experience for our prototype starts out at the main menu, where the player can choose how to play, start, or options. Once the player chooses Start, they are taken to the character selection screen, where they can choose from 2 different characters. Then the player chooses their level, which is their history class, such as AP US History. Then they choose the event in history that they would like to experience, such as the colonization of the 13 colonies. Finally, they are given numerous quests that pertain to that event in history, such as shelter building. Each quest is an immersive experience that puts the player into the shoes of someone who actually lived during that time. They experience all the same challenges, culture, and rewards that era has to offer. Quests involve item pickups and drops, inventory, interactive text boxes, jumping, obstacles, and many other features. After they complete each event, they are given a mini quiz that assesses their knowledge on what they just learned. We are creating our game in GameMaker Studio using the GML programming language, and the game purchase and download will be posted on the Frontier Games website. We will be distributing our product on the Frontier Games website, where teachers can access the website and input their roster of students, and then receive a price to purchase the game in bulk. Once it is purchased by the teacher, They receive individual download codes for each student to download the game for free from our website up to 2 times. After having discussions with a school administrator, we decided that $2.50 was a realistic and achievable cost per student that schools could afford. This cost is significantly cheaper than the current traditional history textbooks. We do realize that there are probably some compliance issues with allowing students to download something at home from an external website, and we will address these issues further down the road. We have created promotional materials, such as a brochure, to give out to our teachers and other educational leaders around our schools to advertise our product. Our target demographics consist of target customers and target users. The target customers are 6th through 12th grade history teachers that are looking to improve their classrooms. They are the ones in need of a new method of teaching for their students and are the ones who are purchasing our game. The target users are the 6th through 12th grade history students who are actively playing the game. They are the ones interacting with the product and experiencing it firsthand. Obviously, our number one competition is the traditional history textbooks that every history teacher has grown accustomed to. These traditional textbooks have been used for hundreds of years, and nothing has changed to accommodate the modern generation. After doing much research on current market competitors, we found that there are no other games quite like ours. Our other competition are online flash games that have no real game immersion or interactivity. They only use point-and-click mechanics and have much more reading content than our game would. The major difference between Portal to the Past and our competition is that our game covers any history subject and is tied to the curriculum for that class. Here are some of the results we received from our customer survey analyzing our target customers and users. Over 75% of takers responded that our product was extremely or very innovative. Over 85% responded that they would be more likely to play our game than read chapters from their history textbook. Our game has had an overwhelmingly positive response among teachers and students. Sit Lolly, a student taking world history, says, "I love how it takes away from reading every chapter, and it will most definitely help me with memorization." Roche Hawley, a world history teacher at Pinellas Technical High School, said, "I would love to see quests, quizzes, and levels of mastery. I would use your product in my curriculum, and it would definitely help solve these problems." Using Miss Hawley's feedback, we decided to add quizzes to the end of each event to add that assessment layer that our target customer identified. These are just a few examples of the many positive responses that we received. Our project began in September when we formed our team and began the brainstorming process. Design, business requirements, and our initial customer surveys began early October, and development of assets and programming began late November. We are currently in this development stage. After we finish development of the first version of our prototype, we will begin testing, which is expected to start late February. Testing in our final prototype will be complete by early April. Here are some pictures from our first storyboard draft in our brainstorming process. We came up with our idea by jotting down a bunch of topics and words, and then formulating possible problems for each one, which we then narrowed down to our current problem. Our next steps will be to finish development and begin testing. We will test our product by deriving a test case document from our use cases, testing each feature, and adding the bugs to the issue backlog. Our developer will fix each bug as they get added to the backlog, and then the features will be tested again. For our final prototype, we will include one U.S. history level, one event featuring the colonization of 13 colonies, one quest available to play featuring shelter building, and one mini-quiz at the end of the level. In the future, we will complete the full U.S. history and world history levels, possibly expand our game to other subjects, and our long-term vision is to completely replace the traditional textbook. Our prototype will be considered done when there is a working menu with the following buttons: Start, How to Play, and Options. There are at least 2 playable characters. There is a subject select screen with U.S. history available to play. There is an event selection screen with 13 colonies available to play. There is an in-game play with at least 1 quest available to play. There's a pop-up review screen at the end of that quest that details all the things meant to be learned, and there is a quiz at the end of the full event. We've had our fair share of challenges during these several months, but our successes far outweigh them. One of the first challenges we experienced was actually coming up with our idea. We spent a few days brainstorming many different ideas and only decided on our final idea a couple days before applying. Our next challenge was losing a flash drive that contained important data that had to be remade. However, we still overcame all these challenges and were able to successfully be a high-functioning team that works well together. An important success we had was receiving many great responses from our customers, containing critical feedback that we were able to learn from. We've also been lucky to be placed with excellent mentors who gave very helpful feedback along the way. Frontier Games aims to completely renovate the modern classroom by providing an alternative method of teaching that effectively increases student motivation, the percentage of information retained, and understanding of the concepts. We are Frontier Games. Thank you for listening.